Okay. Do I have audio? That's what I want to know. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Is it possible that we could be live?
Very quiet.
I'm very quiet.
Why don't you
Quiet.
point the mic at yourself?
The mic is pointed at myself.
I
What do you mean?
can barely hear
It's
you.
Okay.
Oh, that might be my fault. Oh, no, it's not.
Are you sure? Check all your audio sources, everybody.
No, it's at full volume, so can you...
Your dad said the sound is good.
Oh.
So here I'll...
It's just my ass earphones.
It could just be your
It
headphones.
definitely could be my headphones.
Go use the Yeah.
You're good. Continue.
I'm good. Continue. Oh my God, Kate, you did it. Oh, there's yeah. Welcome to paint night. This is my hobbit hole. Brianna's just dancing through the background. James. Oh, James. Whoa.
It's my ass earphones.
James says we're quiet. Troubleshooting audio.
I can hear you in these headphones.
Mm-hmm. James, have you tried turning me up? Oh boy. Oh, it's nice to see the chats. The chatskis. That's an improvement from last time. Could not see the chatskis last time. Oh. How is everybody? Also quiet here. All right. Okay. Here we go. Trying to figure out how to...
Your delay's about 4 to 5 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Mess around with some of my audio filters live. Okay. Is that a little bit better? Is that a little bit better? Hopefully that's a little bit better. There we go.
Sounds louder to me.
That sounds louder? Yes. Kate says yes. Wonderful feedback. Oh, I couldn't be more thrilled. Here's my story time is I had to I changed all of the whole setup today. I went to a different screen recording program because the other one wasn't quite working, wasn't quite optimized for my computer. So that might be why I look tired. I don't know. It could be the main reason. Shall we get stuck in? Tonight on this device, on my phone here, I have a little schedule that will help me hopefully stick to a bit of a time limit for the certain segments that we have. We have a couple segments prepared, which is very exciting. Brianna's very excited, which is good. So hopefully we can sit back, enjoy our juice, and we'll learn to draw some bumblebees tonight. For those of you who were here last week, James loves segments. I love a good segment. I literally ranted about this a few days ago, James. I was like, Brianna recommended me a podcast, and I said to Brianna, okay, I'll listen to it, but does it have a segment? She's like, what do you mean, a segment? I was like, does it have a segment? It's like a small part of the podcast that is unrelated to the rest of the podcast that has like its own intro tune and stuff like that. And she was like, come to think of it, yeah, it does. And I was like, good. I'll give it a listen. I wouldn't have if it hadn't had a segment. Okay, here is my thing to keep me on track here.
Yours is much more organized than mine.
Yeah, that comes as a surprise to exactly no one.
Mine is in half printing and half handwriting.
Half printing, half handwriting.
I couldn't
Wonderful.
decide.
Okay. So I was just giving people a little bit of time to trundle in here, but I think we'll get stuck into the first little bit here. The way I want to format the stream, like it says to my, whoa, what is that for you guys? Left. Right there we go. That was a mind bender. Like it says right here. I really enjoyed doing the little demo last week with the butterflies. For those of you who were here to see that, I just went way too long with it. So I'd like to do a little 15-minute max demonstration. And then we're going to have our first segment. And then after that, we will all take maybe some of the ideas that were generated in the initial 15-minute demo and paint and drink wine. I think that sounds pretty good. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Wunderbar. Here we go. I'm transitioning. I'm doing it. Oh. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, Kate. It does count. It does count.
That was so cool.
Look at this. Here we go. Smooth. Thank you. Like butter. Yes. I'm very, very proud of all of this like videographic garbage I've done. It's been really fun. Bit of a learning curve though, honestly. Okay. Can we see the bees okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. This is my little demo page. I'm not going to be going on at length because it's much the same as last week with taking the structure of the animal that we're trying to study and just rendering it out a few times on the page here. The wonderful thing about bees
Bees are wonderful things.
yes, is they have the snowman effect. They are essentially 3 orbs. And what's really nice about an orb is that an orb is always an orb in perspective. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that on the next page here. I think I could get a little bit closer here. Let's see. No? There we go. Yeah. How's that? It's all right. So I'm fussing.
Yeah, no, actually that looks fine. I just
Oh, great.
was nervous.
I've been doing this all day, so I'm fussing. But yeah, the nice thing about bees is that to construct them, I'd say you have to think even less than when you're doing a butterfly. Because the main body of the bee is 3 circles that are growing, and then the butt circle tapers a little bit to the back. And we have that as an example here, and we have it here. And no matter whether or not it's a like straight down view or a side view here, the spheres, they're always going to be pretty much the same shape. So you don't have to worry too much about that. Which means that it's great practice for trying a couple different perspectives. So during this segment, I really encourage people to maybe get warmed up with me, practice a little bit, maybe apply some of what we're trying to do, and then we'll attempt to take what we've learned and do the main hour-long piece while we, consume what's left of our quarantine wine. So, get a fresh page here. what I mean by the snowman effect is we can have one circle, two circles, three circles. That's huge, but it's fine. It's still a bee.
It's a bumblebee.
And what I did here was I kind of clipped this one. Now it looks like this circle, even though it's smaller than this one, is in front of it. This circle is in front of this circle. So the bee is going to be coming at us at a bit of an angle. And I think the snowman effect really demonstrates this well. So that's basically the main lesson for the evening, is try and do this a couple times, but in a variety of ways. So maybe like this. How's that? And you can kind of see where the rest of the insect would, place itself. All 6 of their legs come right off the thorax. It's the same with every insect. So you just we could start to draw some little twiggies coming off here, just as in a lay-in for the legs. We're not worrying about anatomy or anything. It's literally just a couple circles. And giving it legs, it immediately starts to look more creepy crawly. Yeah. The wings kind of come off this middle part here. So we can see in our on-screen reference. Hey. I'm like stupidly proud of of the on-screen reference. So look at that. You have a couple bees. And now, like we did last week where we kind of got into a little bit of rendering and doing the cross-hatching and stuff like that, you can basically fill in the details here as far as you want, and you have a picture. You have something totally viable. And this can be, we can change sort of the shape language of the circles. So if I have a whole bunch of kind of like fat, fuzzy, puffy looking circles, we're going to have a fat, fuzzy, puffy looking bee.
Yes.
And that's, frankly,
The goal.
that's the goal. That's what we're excited about. So just going to do, let's do 2 more of these. Try and pay attention to our reference here, because he's got this little mane that I love. This is a little bee mane.
How is my bee?
Bee's wonderful.
Thanks, honey.
Look, you did so many little snowmen. That's fantastic.
They look more like double scoop ice cream cones.
Yeah. They look more like butt plugs. It's all kosher here on this family-friendly stream. Just snowmen and bees. Okay. Now, as a bit of a... So this is me trying to get into doing texturing stuff, but you can see that I'm I'm doing exactly the same thing, just with like a little bit of texture work, just breaking up my lines, trying to make him look fuzzy as my initial lay-in. Okay, and that, like, I don't know. When I was doing my practice today, I just was having so much fun just drawing 3 circles and then making it a bee. And it was kind of like obnoxiously easy. I did stumble for a second, though. I kind of want to make a point of showing you where I mess up. because I don't know, I don't feel that I get enough of that from my teachers, enough fallibility, quite honestly. So I want to show you where I learned something today, and it's here on this guy. Might be a little hard to see, so you might want to full screen it for this, but I placed the antenna where I assumed the antenna on an insect goes. We've all seen ants, and we all kind of, well, actually, this is for anyone who is a Pokemon fan. This is like Beedrill. Does anyone know Beedrill? Yeah. How is it? How's the stream? Oh yeah, 1080p at 60 frames a second.
Yeah,
baby.
It looks like a soap opera in here.
Wonderful. Anyways, I placed the antenna up on the top of the head because I was like, that's where the antenna go. And when I looked at the reference, that's absolutely not where the antenna go. On bees, specifically, they kind of go right between the eyes. They kind of sprout from the middle of the face here and come up in this V. And I thought that was a really nice, like, observational learning moment. So what we're going to do now is, what time is it here? 51? Nice. We can just finish up whatever it is that you're working on for your practice. Have a swig of your red or white. And
how long are their antennas?
Their antennas are about 2 head lengths long. So for basically any measurement, if you're drawing something out in the world, in the wide world, you can take standardized measurements of anything, just by finding a repeatable element on the subject. And a lot of the time that's the head if you're drawing animals. It's kind of the gold standard to keep your proportions in check. Just kind of look and be like, how many head lengths is my bee long? Like 5. And then if you measure it and it's 2, or if you measure it and it's 6 or 7, then you know your proportions are a little bit off. But that's getting a little bit advanced. We're just trying to draw a few circles here. See here, I just want to make sure, really put those in the right spot. I'm trying to hammer that home. It was weird because I looked at it and was like, this looks like an ant. Because ants, that's where their antennas come out.
I wonder if that has to do with their tunneling behaviors versus flying behaviors.
Maybe.
Because antennas are sensory organs.
Maybe. Brianna
More
is...
science coming at you later.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're leading us into what is the next segment. Very exciting.
I think I read his
Okay, we have 8 whole viewers. I was aiming for 6 tonight. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. I was pretty worried that getting people to transition from Instagram to YouTube would be challenging and we'd lose a couple, but that's okay. This is fantastic.
Just keep going.
Okay. So that's what we're going to work on. I'm going to grab my paints and paper. James says we are 2 viewers. You're right. You're right. There's a multiplicative effect
That's
here.
True. I bet my mom is watching. I bet Lan
Oh,
is watching.
oh, wow.
There's like
That means we have
12
like,
people here.
oh,
That's
incredible.
pretty good.
Incredible. My mother is watching. Oh my goodness.
How do you know?
She's texting me.
Oh.
So, hi, Mom.
Oh, I bent the antennas in the wrong direction, and now it looks like an ant.
Hey, learning moment. Fantastic. Wow, that means we have like
See?
35.
How the antennas, these look weird,
Yeah.
and these ones look right.
So these, the way Brianna has the antenna, that would almost be like coming back off like this, receding behind it. That's good. That's the direction you need to put your wings.
Backwards?
Well, yeah, because the wings go back. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my paints and we're gonna transition into. Okay, wait. We have to. I'm standing. You're not. No, you're not quite ready. Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Is it working? Go, go, go. What about that? Because I hit the. It might need to do the transition.
Yeah.
Into it. Yep.
Oh.
Fantastic.
Okay.
You can hear us. Yes, back. Wonderful.
Sorry, guys.
Oh.
Troubleshooting. But welcome to my lab. You will see there is a fridge, and it is not for your lunch. It is for genetic material and dead subjects only, which is usually bugs. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to teach you about bees. First question. Why are bees? Now, to answer this, I have to take you back to the Cretaceous, 160 million years ago, where there were plenty of dinosaurs and plenty of plants, but no flowers. The plants, because they cannot move, cannot reproduce very easily. So they were sending out a ton of pollen into the atmosphere, which is a waste. It costs a lot of energy and it creates a lot of waste. So insects that looked kind of like wasps started to eat the pollen. And when they did that, it would get on their mittens and I've never said wasp mittens before. And pollinate other flowers. So the flowers began the world's biggest and largest advertising campaign. And the plants would try, the ones that had better smells or better colors were easier to find, or some of them would produce sugar water nectar to reward the wasps that came to eat their pollen. See, these are my notes. This is how my brain goes, basically. Just nonsense. Eventually, if your petals are brighter and more aromatic and there's more nectar inside, more bugs are going to want to come and pollinate you. And that is why we have orchids and all other flowers. Orchids just came first. As such, Bees are highly specialized pollinators. Bees and flowers are co-evolutionary, which means that all of their characteristics, well, not all of them, are conducive to each other or evolved for each other's purposes. So the bulk of their specialized characteristics benefit each other. So bees have super long tongues, some of the longest in the animal kingdom, the longest belonging to a moth, which has a tongue 5 times longer than its body length. But bees have like 6-inch long tongues, pretty much, and can get the nectar out of anywhere. Bees are also fluffy, and that is purposeful because the pollen sticks to their fluff. Even on their feet, they even have tiny hairs on their mittens to pick up pollen. Okay. Question 3. How are bees?
How are they?
How are bees?
Are they well?
Now, bees are also very fat in the best way. And bumblebees specifically, which are very different from honeybees, there are 25,000 species of bees in the whole world, but only 250 species of bumblebees, the genus name of which is Bombus. Because they bumble. And the common bee's name is Bombus melanopoda, which means bumbler blackfeet. They are part of the order Hymenoptera. You may recognize the word hymen from school, and hymen is just the Greek word for membrane. So Hymenoptera, ptera means wing. So Hymenoptera means membrane wing. And you have heard from that terrible movie of which we do not speak that bees are too fat to be able to fly, and yet they do, and we don't know how. 'Tis not true, my friends. Do not listen to Disney about bees. We do know how they fly, and it's helicoptering. One article I found was from the UK, and this scientist said they're like slightly crappy helicopters. So they move their wings not up and down like a bird because they are too fat to propel enough air down to lift them, but they do it in a front to back figure 8 motion. So they end up kind of creating these little hurricanes beside their wings like little sky catamarans. And that is also why they're always bumping into things, because they just have these 2 pockets of, picture them with like 2 balloons on their wings, and they're like dirigibles. I have one more fact about bees, and it's about how the queens make their colonies, which I did not know. Bumblebees. Bumblebees do make honey, but just not nearly as much as honeybees because it feeds their larvae. But bumblebees all die in the winter except the queens. So the queens, before everyone else dies off, go and mate with a bunch of hearty young male bees, and then they get very fat and hide themselves in usually actually rodent burrows or the soil over winter. And when they wake up, they find a nest and they lay their eggs and they sit on them like birds for 2 weeks. And then when those hatch, that is the first crop of worker bees. They will eventually knit themselves a cocoon and they will come out bees. And those bees will raise all the subsequent generations of the hive for the rest of the summer. And at the end of the summer, the queen will lay her last clutch of future queens and eligible bachelors. And then they leave the hive as soon as they are ready and become fertilized, get fat, and go to sleep. And thus concludes the Moosey Science segment.
You're gonna take all of this information into your drawing, and it's gonna be so much better. It's gonna be. Now, your art skills may not be enriched, but your brain is. Well done. I think you really hit your stride there. I thought that was really fun. There's the Moosey Science segment. It was a good segment. I think all we need now is like a theme song for it, and we're gonna be good to go. So we're going to try another transition here, and hopefully the audio remains. Whoosh. Hey, cool. So, everyone has whatever you're using to make your marks tonight. I'm going to be using my trusty watercolors. Brianna's going to be using watercolor pens that I have.
Am I?
I thought she said she would, but I don't know. Who knows?
I'll go find them.
But thank you, David. I thought she did a wonderful job.
Beautiful.
Beautiful segment. It flew right over my head. No? No? Yeah.
Buzz off.
Oh, behave. Okay, a nice clean palette here. So maybe some of you already have your, like your structure down. If you don't, like me, I think, what should I do? Would you like me to do like a pen and ink underlay, kind of like what I was doing, and then do a watercolor wash on top of that? I find that makes it look a little more comic booky. Or just do like a pure watercolor bee painting here in portrait or in side view. I don't know. Would you like to see anything specific? All it will take is one person telling me which one to do. But yeah, this is what engagement is. I'm trying to engage you like a good teacher might. We go. Just rinse my brushes off before I start.
In the water, not the wine.
Okay. Dave says wants a little bit of structure to the drawing. Sure.
That's probably a good idea.
And then I can color it in a bit. Yeah. Last week we talked a little bit about like doing your underlays and stuff as well, just to get some thing on the page, and that's why I was really excited about this whole snowman thing. So I'm gonna do that again. Here we go. We're going to, let's say he's little bee. This is kind of like our reference here. He's going to be kind of in an arc on a flower. So all I want to do is kind of imagine that his line of action is this little curve here, and follow that. Now, do I want him perfectly side view? No, that is not interesting. So I'm going to do basically what we've already done a couple times now, and just, oh, he's very fluffy. Oh my lord. So pretty non-committal marks here, because the nice thing about an underlay is you don't really even have to erase it all the time. The more detail you add on your painting over the course of the painting, the more your underlay just kind of like naturally starts to disappear all on its own. It's a really neat effect, and if you go out and look at someone else's artwork, I always kind of treat it as like a Where's Waldo thing, to go in and be like, can I find a couple lines that they maybe didn't erase or something like that, to get an idea of what this looked like before it was a masterpiece. I think it's kind of a fun art viewing mini game. I've left this part blank here, that being said, because I know that he's going to be on a flower. So I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room here, as I know I'm working in watercolors. So if you're working in acrylic, or if you're scribbling with like a Crayola or something like that, you could probably put a line here and not worry about it being seen or cutting through your flowers later. But because watercolor is super, super transparent, I am just trying to think ahead a little bit. And that's something I've been really trying to work on lately, is thinking ahead. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have a bit of a mess up somewhere down the line, and you're like, God, this was so avoidable. You know? Sort of feel like that about life, honestly. I felt like that when I ran out of gas one time. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to.
Never run out of gas.
Brianna and I were wondering if we should implement a game or a point system of some kind for drink night, for art night. And I was wondering if anyone had feedback on that. Like, I don't know. Every time Brianna clearly loves whatever animal it is she's talking about more than basically anything. I don't think I've ever seen someone like so genuinely giddy talking about bees. That could be a rule. Who knows? I was also wondering about music on the stream. I kind of thought we'd keep it quiet on our end so that you guys could put on some music, but I highly encourage you to. I just don't. YouTube has a whole bunch of weird policies when it comes to. Well, they're not weird. It's theft if you play someone's music without like asking them. But know that because we're there's gonna be long periods or longish periods where no one's really talking that much. I encourage you to throw on a couple tunes.
Look at their membrane wings.
Their wings. Okay, their wings are really, really cool. The more you draw them, I was looking at the butterfly wings last week, and butterfly wings are really, really, like they're most of the butterfly, but their veins are hidden sort of in their patterning, and their wings are a little bit thicker as well, so it's harder to see. But with bee wings and wasp wings, you can really feel the nutrients going through them. It's really cool. There's a piece of photo reference I was looking at earlier today that was just like a microscope photograph of an actual set of wings, and it was labeled, and it was the labeling was really cool. It was quite flavorful, because normally academic labeling is pretty dry, but there was this like nick out of the wing, which was it was labeled as being like wear and tear, and then they in brackets they're like, this guy got into a tussle, like yeah, just this little rip in the membrane.
Could he fly?
And I don't know.
Probably well.
Unlikely. Well, no, he can't fly because it was just a set of wings.
Jeez. That's science, I guess.
Yeah, but I thought that was like, you can add character to them. This little bee could have a history. He could have got into a tussle.
He did have a tussle.
Maybe he did. And I think doing stuff like that, like a little bit of wear and tear on the wing, that's really cool. That kind of immediately suggests that your bee has a bit of a history, Like
sharks with boat scratches in their tail.
Yeah, totally. It's like, yeah, even when you see a cat with a nick in its ear, right? Or a person with a tattoo, it's kind of the same thing. It just sort of suggests this. That's why in character design and like most pop art, like all of your superheroes and stuff, if they have tattoos, it's just like, it's really, really easy kind of like free character development. And it's kind of odd to think about it in that way, in like the pop art way when it comes to drawing animals and stuff. But like if you're drawing a lion or a tiger or something, like if they're old, lions are like really scarred. And it's probably where the name came from, you know? So, kind of mentioned the legs earlier. This is likely, if your drawing's gonna get messy after you've done the snowman part, it's probably gonna be when you get to doing the legs, because there's 6 of them, and they're all kind of radiating off this center orb. And this is a part where you can choose to go try hard mode or not really. Doesn't really matter. If your B is foreshortened, like this, with his head in front of this middle segment, which is in front of this backward segment, you will compromise your drawing a little bit if your legs are just kind of lines and they look very flat. It will really like stand out. So this part's going to be a bit of an intermediate exercise. If you're just working on the basic part, like doing the 3 balls and then putting B things on those balls, you keep on keeping on. You keep doing that. That's fantastic. But I want to try and make it look like these legs are holding this flower. Like one's coming at you, and then on the other side, they'll be going away from you. So don't worry too much about this if that's just not what you're...
His little mittens.
He's got polleny mittens.
Did you know they are also waterproof, like ducks
What?
and chinchillas?
Like...
They are so densely hairy, just like chinchillas, that they cannot get wet, like ducks, because they have this oil and so much hair.
Nice. Additional free bee facts. Well done.
They are so fluffy.
Really?
They cannot be soggy.
Oh, so like is that why you'll find bees like on the ground after it rains a lot? It's because they're too heavy to fly? If they've got some water in there? Or is the whole point that they're like actually waterproof?
They're
Like it runs off the... Oh, cool.
But they might not be able to create their little wing hurricanes in the rain.
Little wing?
Or they
Okay.
may just be tired.
Or I might just be conflating bees and worms.
Worms do drown in the soil. That's why they come outside.
So weird.
Because they breathe through their skin. And if there is no air...
It's like that character from Metal Gear Solid. It's a totally reasonable plot device. So it's kind of there's 3 segments and then a little foot. And their feet are really cool, actually. Their feet are just as segmented as the rest of their leg. I would almost call this like it's weird to call it a hand. But they have this like articulable claw on the end of their 3rd digit. So it's like this part can articulate, and then this part has this like almost thumb-like range of motion here, which is neat. So if you're trying to put your legs in perspective a little bit, and a fun way of trying to plot where this far foreleg would land on this sphere is doing the earmuffs tactic. You have your sphere here, and if you kind of draw an ellipse, just kind of picture where that plane is, connect the earmuffs, and follow your rules. This eye is higher than this eye, so this leg should be higher than this leg, unless our horizon line is going directly in between the eye segments and the leg here, and it's not really. So no, this way. Hey, look, I've confused myself a little bit. Or is that? That's actually going up to this vanishing point this way. So no, that is right. There we go. Nice. We checked ourselves before we wrecked ourselves. And that is why putting it in this view can immediately, like, it snowballs quite quickly in complexity. That's what's so cool about doing insects. It's because they can be as difficult or as easy as you make it on yourself. Come on, anyone who knows me knows that I'm gonna make it as hard as possible.
They are so fluffy.
They're very fluffy.
Bumbler Blackfeet. Bombus melanopoda.
Bombus melanopoda. How are you guys doing? I hope the chat is quiet because everyone is fervently drawing bees.
I am quiet for that reason.
Wonderful. We should drink every time Brianna rocks the entire
I'm sorry.
camera setup. No, it's good. It means you're into it. Drawing the heck out of that bee.
Yes.
I don't know. I actually I find knowing about them more, like having some fun facts about bees, makes me like more interested in finishing a painting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of art instructors actually talk about that kind of phenomenon. So you just develop some interest in something.
I think sometimes people think they're not interested in something because they have assumptions about it. Like, not just bees, like art or science or anything. But once they get hit with those cool facts, they're like, oh, everything is science.
Yeah. Once you get devastated by facts and logic, you wake up, sheeple. Go and look at the world around you. Looks pretty good. These are a little too uniform. It's kind of boring. And maybe this one could have gone this way. Here, I'll cheat it a little bit. Just kind of like, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I can kind of turn this into the other claw. Look, and what could have been uninteresting is slightly less uninteresting. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of buff out these feet a little bit. Because I'm using this pen to do my underlay, it's going to show through my watercolors, so it's going to give it kind of a comic-y vibe anyways. I can kind of lean into that. Oh, thank you, the giant. Thank you for dropping by. The bees are buzzing along. They are. Did you catch Brianna's science segment? I don't think you did. Well, luckily, we're on YouTube now. And this will be saved as a VOD, which is kind of cool for posterity. Because this was a little uniform. Like, look, this leg could have been lower here and like reaching out this way. As I did it, they're just kind of static. So what I might try is we'll do our earmuff method here. Where would that land? Follow that vanishing point here. So like there on the other side of the sphere, if you can picture that. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess
You're the best. Yeah. It'll be
tell people, like,
they can come in if they missed it. They can come and have a watch.
Or if you need to leave or something, it's okay. You can watch it later.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start telling people to like, share, and subscribe, and then suplex the bell icon or whatever. That's good, wholesome family content, Kate. Well done. The giant, say hi to mom for me as well.
I'm actually not sure if the giant is Jacob or James.
Ooh.
Tall James.
Yeah. Tall James.
I had initially thought it was Tall James. But it might be Jacob.
You just doxed him.
I didn't.
So on the I want to imagine that he's buzzing around on a sunny day.
Yes, he is.
So the light is going to be coming from this direction, and with a pen, what I can do is to kind of sell that. Is just go over some of my original lines here and think of, like, where is this cylinder relative to the light source? And I can just darken up some of those lines. I'll make them a little bit cleaner as well, which is nice, and also give the perception of a little more depth here, especially in these joints. There's not much light getting in there, so I can just throw a little stuff. And wonderful. Oh my god, this is a really, really good example of what a beginner bee would look like versus a more like an intermediate bee. This is great. Excellent exemplification, Brianna. Look at that.
What? No, he goes this way.
Well, it doesn't really matter. He's on a flower, but this way?
No.
This way.
Yeah, that way.
Wonderful. Okay, there we are. I want to respect the artistic intent there.
How would you improve upon it? Or, I don't know, take it to the next level or whatever.
There's a couple things here. This orb, it's a couple things you just want to be conscious of. This ball, the middle ball of the snowman bee, is the closest one to us because you have it going over top of this line and this line, which means that your bee is curving.
It's like doing a little twist.
Yeah, he's curving this way. So you just want to be conscious of that. I don't know if that reads on the camera.
Is that not how that photo is?
No, it kind of is. He's got, I don't know. He's got some fluff there. Some of the fluff from his torso is kind of coming up over top.
This is his yellow stripe fluff.
Yeah. Hey, well, I just think because the fluff is texture, it's not necessarily the like base. You want to try and like see through that a little bit when you're drawing your forms. I would say that is another sort of like step across from creating this form into doing a little more intermediate rendering and stuff like that. If I'm drawing fur, the fur is not the structure of this animal. The fur is radiating off from the base. So to get a clearer idea of how this guy would be in perspective, you probably want to draw your base, or you're going to get into a couple issues of just having an inconsistent base layer. It's one of those things where it's like, save yourself the trouble of being like, wait, is this in front or is this behind? Because you might go through with your paint and just paint a stroke there.
Right.
And I don't know, there's potential for that. Also, there's 4 wings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't draw 4 wings.
There's some anatomical feedback. I can't really see them in the reference photo though.
Yeah.
That's hard. They're pretty small.
But the double wing structure is how they make the figure 8s. It's sort of the same as dragonflies, actually. But dragonflies just have very obvious quadrupedal wings.
That's neat.
Dragonflies have also been around for hundreds of millions of years.
So cool. The OG insect.
Beetles are the OG insect.
Beetles are the OG insect.
Just like orchids are the OG flower.
That's cool.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but the fact that there's such a huge diversity in both of those genera means that they have had a longer time to diversify, usually.
Cool.
So that's what we suspect.
That's
one
just
tool we used to
sort
try
of
and figure out what came first.
Yeah, the logical approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's more of them, so they've had more time. It's
So
cool.
what came first, the flower or the bee?
Neither.
They happen to each other. They are inextricable from one another.
So it's a redundant question to ask what came first.
Bees pollinate 2/3 of the world's crops globally.
We've done some shit to bees, yo.
Oh God, sorry.
Sometimes I'm just sitting here
I have long legs.
drawing, and then I remember that bees are dying globally in the trillions. That's an old meme.
Yeah.
Isn't that is an old meme, isn't it?
I think so.
What counts as an old meme? What counts as an old man?
Rage comics.
Oh yeah, Troll Dad. Yes, David will remember that one well.
So where are the other wings? Okay, I did it.
Somehow, you know what happened in the chat here? Brianna, look at this. Look at this. I posted in the chat that someone is over. I think that's my mom.
Oh.
And I think that means that my mom is logged into my YouTube account at home
No.
because of the last time I went home to do, a Christmas tech support. That's hilarious.
So funny.
Mom, you have to make your own YouTube account. You can't post as me. Oh, yeah. That's so funny. Oh my god. Oh, you gotta make your own. It's very likely, Mom, that you could like hit a button that like turns the stream off or something. So she's waiting for her personal text support. Am I text support when I'm in Regina? And tech support when we're home for the holidays? Because you can corner me. It's so weird. All of my contacts just deleted themselves. I don't know why.
That happened to you, okay?
Yeah, actually, that was a
literally
bad. That was a
happened
bad.
to you.
That was a bad example. Oh. The cloud, man. The cloud ate my contacts.
I love him already. Babe, I'm actually really excited about this bee.
Wonderful. That's good. We want people to get excited about their bees.
I should have done this one in acrylic.
You absolutely could.
I could.
You can paint. You can put acrylic paint on watercolor paper.
Oh, really?
There is no law that says otherwise.
No, but is
You'll
there
get
a
less
mass
warping.
fallout of acrylic medium?
The reason you want to have acrylic not on like loose paper is because it is a plastic. If the loose paper bends too much, it'll crack.
Oh. And not because it's wet?
The giant says there won't be much of a buzz about these bees. We're hopping on the pun train.
But both of the people who the giant could be
Would
make
say
puns
that.
like that.
Never give away your identity. That's fantastic. Yeah, I want to get this wing in here. So what I've been trying to do is for elegant structures like that, I kind of want to be really purposeful about this line. So I'm kind of like hyping it up for myself. It's a little bit stressful, but I want to kind of pull that lovely curve and then whip it down and bring it back up, kind of in one motion. This is what I'm working on a lot lately, and it to varying degrees of success. Changes in directions and accelerated curves are quite hard, but let's try it. The longest point of the wing faces the inside or the outside of the animal? Outside. So it kind of goes out and then tapers back in towards the body and back up. Yeah, I think I got it a little more pointed there. You've paint?
Can we put color down soon?
Oh, absolutely. Guys, if you I was just doing my little underlay here. If you guys are doing colors, that's fantastic. Like, do what the piece asks of you.
Your bee reminds me of one of the tanks from Destiny.
The like walker?
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of does. But there,
or should I say those walkers remind me of bees?
I don't know. Probably that the.
Does anyone else play Destiny?
It's Destiny 2.
They look like those guys.
Yeah, they do.
Spit out the little puppies.
Well, they're probably like they are based on insects. I think they're probably based on spiders because they have 8 legs. Do they have 8 legs?
They have 6 legs.
They have 6 legs. Oh man. No, but if like so much sci-fi and fantasy stuff, like all of the monsters and everything are based on real animal. What is it?
Just checking it on the. Oh, I didn't realize Muddy was texting the whole time.
Obviously. I think I'm late to the party on that one. Wonderful. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope it was fun.
Yeah.
Give the fam jam a hug.
Have fun at choir practice.
I
think we have different opinions about who it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kate and I are right.
I don't think so.
Has anyone moved on to color yet, or is anyone trying to shade their bee?
Yes!
Brianna said yes.
Brianna is right.
Oh, dang.
I live my life for that statement.
Oh, dang, she does. She does live her life for that statement. It makes you very likable.
Good one, babe. Sorry, my laugh was so resonant there.
What kind of flower is he on in this image?
I picked a different flower because I wanted a purple one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what kind of flower that would be. I don't think
this is just a black-eyed Susan, but it's really zoomed in.
Yeah, but that's a huge. Is the center of a black-eyed Susan like this big?
A black-eyed Susan's like this big.
I guess a little bee. Flower this big. I guess that tracks. Okay. All right. Let's I don't know, I just kind of started putting in these vague leafy forms, but I think I want to do it more akin to the actual reference. So I think I can salvage this. we enter the part of every piece where you're like, God, this is horrible. And that happens basically every time you get to this one part. You're like, if I just push through,
Okay.
should be good. Brianna does not have that. She has zero fear. Oh,
There
yeah.
are no stakes to me making a bad painting.
Hey,
if I make
that's
a bad
true.
Painting, it is an example of me having learned something, and it can go in the trash if I want.
And that's
but
where
it is your career, and then
that's where professionals can
justifiably
learn from the
you are
paint night attendees.
I was much more nervous for my science segment than I was for drawing this bee because that is my job.
You hit your stride. I thought it was cool.
I'll get more confident with time.
Yeah. Let's give some love to the science segment. I don't care if you didn't like it. It's staying.
I did like it.
No, I'm talking about them.
No, they liked it.
Yep. Oh, like I lean a lot. I just sort of like go like this when I'm drawing.
We gotta put something interesting behind you.
Yeah.
You can't really see
You have to have one of a streamer set up, which are just gross.
We're always saving money for a green screen so we can change the background to be like Mars or anything.
Yeah. I think what we should do is try and do a master copy of a Renoir painting inside of a Renoir painting. I think that would be cool.
Renoir?
No, it's Renoir.
Renoir.
It's like Benoit.
Are you sure?
No. I'm not the French speaker
Pretty sure
here.
It's Renoir.
It's Renoir. Mom's in the chat. She does art. Mom's in the chat as me.
Marnie's art history.
She does art history.
Renoir is a character from Elder Scrolls. Renoir is the famous Impressionist painter.
I still think you're wrong.
That's the second time I've been right in the last
Okay,
minutes.
wow.
I was just,
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna put paint on this. What do I do?
What do I do?
Do I paint the background?
Come on, you were doing so well. You had no fear.
I know. I'm just asking you. Do I do the background first, like acrylics, or is it different with watercolor? This is an honest question. I'm not feeding it.
It depends. It depends on the subject.
Oh. Okay.
A lot of the time, it's nice to just get some pigment down, and a good way of doing that is filling in your background. Your background can also be your base layer a bit, so you can even go like take the background and bring it into your subject a bit if you're doing your background first. And you just have to be careful about color choices. So if, like my flower here is a yellow background and the bee has yellow stripes, I'm not going to worry about bringing my yellow through the entire thing, and that will unify the painting a little bit.
You have no orange pen.
I do somewhere, I think.
Okay.
Oh no. You have this one and the yellow one. I think there's a... Yeah. Okay. So what time are we at here? So I've been working on him for... almost 40 minutes here. So I want to get some color on him. Our plan was to just kind of take the active part of the stream until 9, and then kind of taper off from there. Anyone who wants to stay is more than welcome to, but you know, in future streams if anyone has any questions or anything like that, you got me here. This is what I do. So please ask away. You could even text Brianna and get her to ask on your behalf if you don't want to put it into the stream or something like that.
True.
That's totally understandable. That's cool. But yeah, anything that I could help with your artistic endeavors, I would be thrilled to do so. And if we make the kind of question back and forth component part of the body of the stream, I would answer questions until around 9, or until around now, and then we would finish up the piece, hopefully, and just hang out if there's any more to do. But you're not missing anything after 9, basically, is what I'm saying.
Sorry, I'm so obnoxious.
Yeah, you really are. Yeah. Sorry, we had to kick Brianna out of the office upstairs.
Oh, we had to.
We had to, yeah.
I see.
She's just this little gremlin lady. This little gremlin.
I'm a gremlin.
Yeah.
I'm getting my acrylics because I don't know what else to do.
Oh, you're just moving to acrylics.
Yes.
That's fine. Stick with what you're comfortable with. That's cool. See?
What do I got here?
Yellow is interesting as a background color because it kind of takes the stage no matter what you do with it. So if you bring it through your painting, you can unify it. I still want to keep it. Oh my god. So we don't need a dog or a cat, Brianna, because you're just like rummaging around like a little beast.
I can never find anything.
This little goblin creature. How's everyone's bees looking? God.
My knees.
You did like a Pilates class one time.
Yes.
Guys, has anyone tried to work out after like being sedentary in quarantine for so long? And it's just brutal. God. Our poor decrepit frames. They love not moving so much, and then as soon as you do, you're just breaks you.
You make watercolor so nice. I guess that's why you're a professional. Can you explain why you're putting the color where you're putting it?
Yeah, the background here is, like in the reference image, is the flower. The flower is yellow.
Yeah, I guess. It didn't even occur to me to look at the background.
Yeah. If you're going to be painting the background. And right here, I want to put it through this wing, because the wing is translucent. And because the wing is translucent here, I did not bring the color that I put through the bee up higher here so that I could have some separation of his butt from the background, and then bring the background through his wing to make it look translucent, if that makes sense. That was just like a little consideration. Because the yellow is so strong, it's already very light, but we still have to maintain our light source, right? We've set ourselves a rule. The rule that we want to stick by is that the sun is shining this way. So the strongest highlight should be up here somewhere, around his back. And with watercolor, seeing as we can't really paint our highlights back in, we can't go over it to make it lighter. You only really ever make watercolor darker. We want to leave that completely white So we have a little bit of room to maneuver later on. Again, it's just sort of, if you want a medium that's going to force you quite angrily and aggressively to think ahead and just really punish you when you don't, pick up watercolor. Also, if you want a very freeing medium that you don't have to worry too much about, especially if you keep a limited palette, pick up watercolor. Because you can really just kind of go to town and let the water blend your pigments for you, and that's very easy, and it's hard to make something look bad unless you kind of use a couple too many colors and it starts to get muddy. But that's a pretty easy thing to avoid if you just have a red and a blue or something like that. I've been talking a little bit about shading spheres in this episode. And with the bulb of this flower, I've kind of added an additional sphere here, but it's a highly textured sphere. But the rules remain the same. If the bee wasn't here, the light source would be there, and I could just kind of put a general shadow here and not really worry too much about the texture, and have my general highlight, and just go into these nooks and crannies and try and pick out a little bit of darkness to give that texture some oomph. But if you're just painting like a normal flower, that's just a circle or kind of a spherical thing here, you're not worrying at all about texture or anything like that. You just paint in that little shadow, just take a darker color, just put it in, and you're done. You're good. And you've added a ton of volume. You've added a lot of depth to your painting, just like that. So it's kind of a neat example again of how you just slowly increase the difficulty for yourself. We were wondering. It was. Landon thinks I'm cute. I nailed it. Landon's the cute one. Oh, Landon, my mom's here. Did you know that?
Oh.
My mom loves Landon.
Lucky. Landon's here.
Mm-hmm. When's Landon coming to visit? Awesome. Hey guys. Is everyone drawing a bee? I hope so.
Might just be listening to your super sexy voice.
Oh. Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
We were wondering what people think about doing this every week, every Thursday, or maybe just doing it once every 2 weeks. Maybe you'd be a little more excited to come back once every 2 weeks. Is 4 times a month a lot? Or, I don't know.
Choose which Thursday.
Yeah, or I could break it up a bit. Just maybe like post a video or something every second Thursday and do the stream, intermittently. I don't know. We're trying to see what people want to do, what gets people interested, and having fun. Landon is not drawing a bee. Now, I'm going to do the scary part of the watercolor painting. Like I said, you can only get darker with watercolors. So sort of the point of no return. To keep the palette interesting, I'm not going to use a black for the black fuzzy bits. You'll probably had a lot of art teachers tell you that it's kind of a flat color, and keep interest by using maybe like a dark blue or a brown or something like that, so it has a little bit of variety in its pigment. Thank you so much, David, for stopping by. Yeah. I can't wait to see your bee. Yes, give Foxy a pat for all of us. Yeah. I'm kind of going with a darker blue here. It's kind of a desaturated blue. And what doing the blue-yellow combination is going to be cool because I can push some greens into the petals, and green's going to make it look like this plant just woke up for the spring, and the bees the bees are just getting busy. So oh, nice. Let's see the bee. Oh, wow.
Oh,
well done. That was really good. Oh, that's so cool. I love it when people show the stuff. That's so cool. Look at the flower work too. Oh, fantastic.
Do you want to? No. Yes.
I don't know. Maybe we could find a way of
we'll
having them pop up or have them shareable on the stream if people are comfortable with that.
We can post on our story.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah. Please share your stuff. It makes me feel so. It's like
share it.
I don't know. Sometimes streaming just kind of feels like screaming into the void. So if people share stuff, that feels really, really cool. So I'm dropping a whole bunch of pigment right now, right in the corners here. The places furthest from the sun, essentially. And this process will be pretty similar for any medium that you're working in. Whether it's a pencil, you'll just shade upwards with less pressure to get that nice spherical illusion going on. Or you'll just pull your paint in the direction of the light. You paint towards the light.
Paint towards the light?
I've
never heard anybody say that before. That
sounds
very helpful.
In a couple circumstances.
Right.
So you paint towards the light with your watercolor brush, but you want to be careful because when you're pushing your paint, you're basically pushing this little Zamboni bead of water with a whole bunch of pigment in it up the page. And a lot of the time when you take your brush away, you actually have this little concentration of pigment, and that's going to mess up your gradient. So what you could do is you could do this with acrylic as well. If that's how you're working right now, is you can pull that and see that little bead there. I don't know if that read, but now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brush it back down. So it's a little bit of a back and forth. And with watercolor here, I can break up the edge a bit. This is a specific watercolor technique for doing shading. What I can do is take some just pure water and pre-load the area. This is sort of how we get around that problem of the pigment Zamboni. Is we give an area of moisture for that bead to run off into. And this is shading wet into wet. But it's a little bit like, this is where you're getting like watercolor-y, you know? You have that lovely sort of uncontrollable dispersion of your pigment. But if I wanted to, I could mitigate that by just taking a sponge or a dry brush and just sopping up that water. I don't really want to mitigate it because it gives you cool textures. And you know, people know what they want when they're purchasing a watercolor painting or enjoying looking at a watercolor painting, is that sort of flow of the pigment that you can't really fake. You can't really synthesize that with acrylic. Or if you did, you'd be trying really, really hard, right? Like that would probably be the point of your exercise. Look at that. We have a nicely shaded orb just because we did a prelay. And this kind of shading, this like 2 pigment coloring, is really, really leaning into the comic booky effect of this guy.
You should like do giveaways or auctions with these or something.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
We could make them part of competitions or something like that. I don't know. So I wanted to push his yellow band back a little bit under this part. Because of the translucency of the wing, it'll be kind of cool to have a couple different colors underneath it. Let's do something. This is using a little bit of artistic license here. But if I take my shadow, like this paint here is still wet and still quite dark, so I can actually pick it up in my brush and just sort of put it in here. But we can do a distortion effect here. I think it's a neat opportunity for a distortion effect. And all that is taking your color that's passed through here and just offsetting it a little bit from this cross contour. So I'll go in. It's like looking at someone wearing glasses from the side, right? You can see a bit of their face, like, you know, reflected. I forget what the actual term is called when that happens, but that is what refraction is. Cool.
I'm sure there's a more specific word.
Yeah, yeah. And we can also show, because this is a highly reflective membrane, we can give it a little, like, couple striations there where there's bright light bouncing off of it, because the sun's still coming from this way. And then kind of sells the translucent effect of the wing. I think that's kind of fun. And it wasn't hard, right? That's what's fun about it. You come up to it, it's just offsetting a little bit.
Whatever you did is not intuitive to most of
Yeah, it may not be intuitive, but when you see it done, maybe you can see that the actual doing part is like, it's like I'm not flicking my brush in a very specific way.
I think you actually probably are, though. Like, it's not, I'm not trying to make it inaccessible, but
Oh.
I'm trying to acknowledge how talented you are. Like,
That's very
it's
nice
just,
of you.
like, the way that you do it is, you make it look very easy. And it probably is the way that you're doing it, but you have to know exactly which 3 little you're gonna put down. I think
Maybe.
it's cool. You have a lot to offer the world of art.
Hopefully. Hopefully I have a lot to offer the world of just quarantine blues and everyone having completed Netflix. Got their little badge. Mr. Netflix came and gave them their trophy. And yeah. That's what happens when you finish the internet, actually, is Bill Gates just kind of comes and he shakes your hand. It's like it's the same. No, God, no. It's like the Queen sending you that certificate for being married for like 80 years. Well done.
Represented the quality.
Hopefully it's at least breaking up your content consumption a little bit.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about my bee.
What time are we at here? Oh wow, we're already past 9. So we've been live for an hour and 43 minutes. Cool. I hope you guys have had fun and that your bees are looking okay and
I'm happy to stay and hang out.
you enjoyed the science. Oh, that was really fun.
Yes, I was a bit nervous, but I'll get more confident.
Yes, yeah, you were hitting your stride at the end there. That was great. So, as always, let us know what you thought was boring and what you thought was fun. The teaching component at the beginning of the video is really good for me, so I'm gonna keep doing that. But if there's a way you think you could make it, I don't know, a little more interactive or a little more interesting, let me know, because I want to be a better teacher as well. So this will definitely help. And if you think the show just needs like 2 more bottles of wine, I'm super willing to accept that feedback. Genuinely go over it. Really take my time digesting that feedback. So, thank you. Tess says, your science was great, Brie.
Thanks, Tess.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tess.
It was the part we were most excited about, honestly. Bree's bees. Nice. So not completing this circle at the very beginning of the drawing is now paying off, just now. Here. Because I can place his fuzzy bee butt, I don't have to worry about a dark line confusing the perspective. This orb is definitely in front of his butt, right? And there's nothing confusing that, which is nice. It's a moment where you can like pat yourself on the back for your forethought. So I'm coming up to this edge again. I'm going to make sure the light is reflecting in our reference here off the thicker parts of the wing. So where the light's not going through, it's bouncing off in a very, very bright highlight. And it looks like there needs to be a little more material to do that, or else the light just goes right through it. have to be careful because there's cross striations here too, and I don't want to mess that up. And I'm getting into where there's going to be yellow underneath the wing here. Brianna's doing a great showcase of the that step between beginner and intermediate. It's a really, really beautiful example.
Fluffy.
Yeah, it's the fluffy technique. It's where you just get really, really excited about things that are soft. I've tried to get as excited about soft things. Maybe it's just my stone cold heart. Cool, guys. We're just gonna I'm gonna probably finish this guy up on stream, but thank you all so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
We want to keep it around an hour and 45 minutes. We've been live for 1:48 now, so and maybe keep it closer to an hour and a half, so that this kind of rambly part can extend into 2. Again, your feedback is always super welcome. I want to hear what you guys think about it. If you had fun, please share your bees. It makes it feel like worth it. I don't know. I love seeing them, even if you think it's just it's like a garbage insect. It's not.
It's not. Do you know what we're gonna do next week?
Well, I'm not sure if we're gonna do a stream next week or if I'm gonna do a video, but I was thinking doing something completely different from a small insect. We could go from small creatures to a very, very big one. Very big. Like heart the size of a B&W big. And I thought if we did whales the next time here, I would encourage people to maybe try and pick up some basic watercolors, like a small watercolor pan set. Nothing intense at all, but I could give maybe some more specific watercolor instruction. If you'd be interested in that, you can achieve basically the same effect with watered down acrylic paints as well. I know I kind of did that already today, but it's meant to be a multimedia stream. However, the sea life of our planet just looks so good in watercolor, so I thought people would have fun with that. They could come to the stream, but we will see. Here we go. Nice. Yeah. Sometimes I have to refresh the chat manually.
I'm really enjoying painting acrylics on watercolor paper. It's totally different. And
it's probably a smoother deposit of paint.
Yeah. And it dries faster because the paper absorbs the water. I'm finding it easier to put down color. Canvas, you're okay, get in there.
Yeah, canvas. You feel like you're
dollar store canvas.
Beating it like a drum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what it feels like.
That's cool. That's really cool. That's a nice little discovery. Which blue? It's hard to tell in this light, but they're so different when you get them on the paper. It's this one. So I thought I'd go through, and I'm gonna take what I took out of the pan and get it on my palette a little bit here, and my palette's right behind the bee. But instead of putting it directly on the canvas from the pan, I'm gonna water it down a little bit because I want to take this and make it green on top of this yellow. Kate says whales.
Whales.
Yeah?
I do
It'd be fun.
Pretty good whale speech.
Brianna has an entire PowerPoint presentation on whales.
Actually, it's a Prezi. That's how leveled up it is.
You know what we should do? Is we should do the Moosey science segment like halfway through the painting process, so that people can be like, doing work, and also listen to your presentation.
That could be cool.
Oh, Kate said she's gonna use the ones on her wall. That would be cool. Apply some of the. Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So here, because we're doing green or blue, a lighter blue on this soluble yellow base layer, it's starting to reactivate that yellow a little bit, and it'll just, the more you need it, the more it'll kind of pay off in the green spectrum. But the base of this greenish color is still this blue, so you're not diverting from your palette. So it's a good example of how you can get a lot of color variety in just like 2 pigments without muddying your paint or your painting. I'm kind of going a little to town on this. It was fun, but I feel like I pushed it a bit too far, so what I can do is just take a bigger brush, and while this pigment is still wet, just kind of brush it back a bit and soften the edges. If anything, the stuff that's behind him, I kind of want it to be in a softer, like, quote-unquote focus. So my lines that are behind the bee, my painted lines anyways, because I can't do anything about breaking up this black, but I can soften these lines up, and that'll make it look like he's quite small. When you soften your backgrounds and have a very sharp foreground, you do a lot of work on separating him from the background, which I have been doing, trying to get these lines like quite crisp here. It'll make him look smaller, like it's a macro lens taking the picture of this bee. We still have 7 people here. That's crazy. Thanks, guys.
At least.
My mother, as me, says, "Hi, Landon. What fun, eh?" Oh, that's bizarre. Seeing my name come up, be like, "Whoa, what did I do?" Oh. I hope it's fun. Excellent. I'm going full danger zone here. See, I just got a ton of paint on this brush. Yeah. Yeah. We're going nuts. What's he doing? It's too much. It's too dark. It's too much pigment. Yeah. Wow. It's amazing how dark this blue can get. kind of has yellow on the joints here, actually.
Yeah, it's pollen.
Yeah, pollen dust. I can do a bit of a watercolor cheat with the brand of watercolor that I'm using is called Holbein, and Holbein uses a lot of bonding agent in their paints. So some of their lighter colors operate kind of like a gouache, and gouache is another type of water soluble paint, but it can sit on the tops of these layers without like bleeding into the paper. So you can kind of cheat some highlights back into it, but you can't blend them at all, or else your painting gets really muddy. And that's why watercolor purists will say it is only a true watercolor painting if you use the natural glow of the paper as your highlight. But bunch of prudes, honestly. You could try, like if I try and I accidentally made like a small, I preserved some of the like white here. It looks kind of cool. It does look like a dot of pollen, so let's try it. Get a little texture on his fur there. Use the bristles of the brush to kind of cheat that texture out over the black line. Watercolor dries a lot lighter than when it is applied.
It's like when you cut your hair wet.
Yeah. So that black underlayer is still going to show through. I want to be careful doing that texturing because I already kind of did it with the black, with my pen, and doing it again with the paint might kind of make my lines or the silhouette of the insect look a little weird. Look like I didn't really have a cohesive vision for it, which I don't really, but what cohesive vision is that? It's blue and a bit yellow.
Slightly crappy helicopters.
Today, everyone, we're going to be painting mediocre helicopters. They're an insanely successful insect, though, so they're like pretty good helicopters, honestly.
Well, they're mediocre helicopters, but they're excellent, world-class pollinators 180 million years in a row, so.
Well done.
Yeah. Congrats, bees. And then in 20,000 years of human existence, we've almost killed them all. It's quite impressive.
Did you have to?
Just more science.
Sometimes I get really, really excited about my paintings, and then I remember that bees are dying globally in the trillions.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for dropping by. Hey, ad-libbing is what we do here.
Yeah.
Trying to teach a multimedia paint night or run a multimedia paint night, and I have no idea what everyone's using, so I am ad-libbing as well. Kate, you can paint your nails like with yellow and like a black stripe over the center of them. Use a little of that texture. Bees! I have 10 bees, a whole hive. The colors of Calgary, brown and brown. I heard there's a lack of white there. Or is it all melting now? It's actually, I don't know. I could actually put some sepia into my yellow. So if I was to add one more color to my, what would then be a 3-color mixture, which is still reasonable, I would probably use a dark brown, melting in poop.
Ah, the smell of spring.
Yes, the smell of the prairies. But I would actually, like Lisa's doing, use a dark brown. Brown and blue mixed together to make a lovely, lovely gray. And what you'd do with a gray color, is you'd put it in probably some of your your leading edges here towards your highlight, and that would make it pop a little bit next to the other very saturated blue color here. So if your whole painting is too saturated, it just kind of explodes off the canvas, and it's oh, whoa, it's a lot. But if you kind of add in a little bit of desaturated coloration, you can bring focal points. So I would keep his face very, very blue, and try and maybe desaturate some of this part here, just to bring a little more focus here where it counts. And then the way we're doing that is hopefully we're taking the line of this wing, and your eye would start here and kind of travel down here. See this cool texturing, and then hopefully look at the texturing here and then come back up to the face. That's the idea.
I'm done, I think.
Brianna is completed. Oh my god!
I'm gonna be.
A wild bee appears.
It's okay.
It's fine.
I like
That's
it.
great.
Yeah.
Here,
You
you do have
have
to be
to.
careful with the paper.
Yeah.
Everybody, look at this. She says she can't paint.
I made a bee.
Isn't that cool? If I could, I would do the claps emoji in the chat. But I can do it in real life, so. That's awesome. And look, she decided to make this head kind of in front, because there's a hard line here.
Yes.
This doesn't continue through. So, neat. Very cool. Oh, you're getting accolades. Oh,
It's because I am baby.
your next stop is the guild. Guild of Ecologist Artists. I bet it exists.
Oh, yeah.
Those people are out in the woods for 3 months studying wolves. What better opportunity to paint them?
Well, and all the scientific illustrators are all ecologists.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, that'd be
obviously
so
not
cool.
all of them, but every scientific illustrator I ever met was.
So all of the talk of drafting and trying to measure proportions.
Yeah.
The scientific illustrators do that. That scientific illustration sort of pioneered draftsmanship, and kind of went hand in hand with architectural design. Because when you look at diagrams of the human body and stuff like that, they feel quite architectural, right? They're flattened in perspective. The only color on them is where the important bits are, right? Like that diagram of a person taking a pill that you see on ads and stuff. There's just some gray background, and then his esophagus and stomach is bright red. That has kind of a surprising lineage in scientific illustration. And I love diagrams, because you sometimes see where the artist got a little antsy, kind of threw in something just for visual interest. Ooh, got a tickle in my nose. Oh, oh, oh. I'm not playing with my nose on camera. Oh.
Try and make him a little fluffier.
A little fluffier? I'm going to challenge myself here to do the rest of this guy in the next 10 minutes here, and then I think we'll probably call it an evening. So I'm going to take this dark brown.
Isn't it cool that pigment evolved for its own continuation?
Yeah.
Flowers only exist because they were a convenient and beautiful way to continue living.
Yeah. I like the, is this just black? Good Lord, Devon. That's what happens when you lose your labels on some of your half pans. I thought it was brown. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Ah, there's my sepia. There we go. Sometimes when I have a couple commissions, my my palette gets like desperately rearranged. That is okay, Lisa. You can actually go back if you want to on YouTube and watch the entire live stream from the start. That's one of the benefits of moving to YouTube for us. But I am super, super happy that it's inspiring you a little bit. You could go buy a little set of watercolors to start. They are intimidating, but if you get over the initial hump, they're fantastic. They're really fun to use. Yes, it is. It is scary going to the store. And no, you do not need to subscribe. It absolutely helps the channel, though, if you do.
Yeah.
I'm going to post videos and stuff on the YouTube channel as well. And if you subscribe and like get notifications from YouTube, it'll remind you when our stream goes live. But we also post and stuff on Instagram to remind people. So
Wow.
I guess I've now joined the cult of like, share, and subscribe.
Alicia has a bee too.
Alicia has a bee?
Yeah.
It's fuzzy.
Look at here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, the before and after there is crazy.
Floofy
Floofy bees.
She says they have only black and yellow paint from when James had a SpongeBob costume.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Perfect for bees.
Yeah. Nailed it. That's fantastic. Looks really good. He's so fluffy, Alicia. Well done. cool. Oh, wow, that green really shows up on the camera. Hey, that's cool. Suppose that's why we use green screens.
What really shows up on the camera?
The green in here.
Oh.
It looks much less green.
Oh, beautiful.
IRL, but... So here I'm going to have this texturing a little bit and some of these harder lines from the sepia. The sepia is a little more permanent. So if I put it down first, I'm at less risk of like making things muddy when I paint over it. So now I've kind of had my little pocket of moisture here prepared, and I can do what I was saying before, where I just sort of pull that shadow up to make this look spherical. So a little planning goes into it. And I tried to mix a few interesting colors in there so that when I spread them out, the mixture sort of shows itself a little more. That's the neat thing about all paint, really, is that there are so many component pigments in any color that when you add water and space, you can sort of draw out like a different colors across each stroke using a single paint, which is pretty cool. And then of course that differs vastly based on whether you're putting that over top of another color, right? So you have this sort of like exponential growth factor of interest that you can get into your paintings. My PayPal? I didn't know. I didn't want to tonight.
Oh.
But I've been trying to figure out how to set up like maybe a tip jar of some kind. I kind of thought I'd try and do 3 or 4 streams before adding a tip jar to the stream. I just thought that was a little more ethical. But yeah, if we really do like work at making it a little more, trying to find the groove, trying to find like what we want the stream to be, if we want it to be like super high energy or more high energy, or just kind of chill like it is, or like it has been the last, like today and last week, then I'll feel more comfortable in my role, I guess. And I mean, if people want a tip for it, that would be incredible. Would be incredible. Oh.
He's so fluffy, babe.
He's very fluffy. So what I'm doing here is just adding a cast shadow. He's right again. We have our rule set. Sun, light hits here, and the light's not going through the bee. So there has to be less light on the other side of him.
So I should probably do that under my bee.
It's amazing how much a single cast shadow can add. Another tip for cast shadow is if it's a bright sunny day, you get a cool light-ish color, so kind of the color of his butt right now would make for a really good cast shadow, actually. I think I might have gone a little too dark with mine, but again, watercolor is going to dry a little bit lighter, and I could cool this shadow down a bit. My reasoning for making it this warm shade was because he has a lot of blue on him. He's got a lot of cool tones, but I actually think that was the wrong choice. I think I might dab it out and maybe get a little more blue in there. I think that would actually look way better. I need a towel. Where's my towel? We still have 5 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you want my onesie?
No, I got this guy. Oh. It's a very professional piece of hardware here. Look at that. I like halved the saturation in one daub. So I can do is I could even loosen up some of the paint in his leg here. And just coax that into my drop shadow. Because this leg is underneath, it's down in sort of the same way. And it's being shaded and lit by the same light that everything else is. So if I just blend it in, people who work in oils love the ability to do this in a very, very smooth way. That's why I wanted to try oils really badly. It's got kind of a funny name. It's called soft edging. So it's hard to find. You just have to be discerning about the tutorials that you click on when you want to learn how to do it. It's a mistake I've made many times and will continue to make willingly. Are we a raunchy stream? Are we a kid friendly? I don't know. What's our identity?
Well, your mom said that Emmy might play it at the hospital or something for the kids.
Oh, well, in that case, it has to be incredibly family. Yeah, they won't get that. That's like a Pixar joke.
Yeah. Something was weird with my flower, but it's because the circle of the inside was like, if I kept the circumference going, it would have cut into the corner.
Hey, look at that. Suddenly, you realize that when you're making a picture, there's like reasons for what you're doing. And you're like, whoa, that's cool. So I'm just loosening up some of this because these are very, very, there's a lot of paint there. It can be reactivated quite easily. And just bringing that's sort of unifying this whole section down here. The problem is washing it out. So that's what I have to be careful of. And I could honestly just keep noodling at this for a really, really long time. I really wanted to try, like, the purpose for making this a long painting for me is to try and really get that volume, this shading, that spherical shading. Whereas I could have just taken this color of blue and just put it in here and here. Got some yellow. Ooh, there it is. And call it a day, and it would be totally fine. It would be a totally serviceable painting. But I found that a lot of my stuff is getting a little flat because I've been doing that. I've just sort of been, getting pigment on there, and that's been enough. And I really want to start trying to push these volumes. Because you don't typically see a lot of watercolor do that. Because it's hard to do. So I want to sort of push myself, but pushing myself does take much, much longer to get a meaningful result, really. I have to throw out a lot more paintings, but what do you think? We've almost gone for 2.5 hours.
No, 2.
Oh, it's 2 hours, 21 minutes. Look at that.
Oh.
That's crazy. So I think we'll probably call it for the evening here. Maybe I'll make a video or something about finishing up the rest of this bee and put it on Instagram and YouTube if anyone would be interested in that. I'll probably post it too, just for fun. Here, let's go back to Catherine.
Oh my gosh.
She must have just woke up.
In Switzerland.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Mercy buckets here. I'll show it on the bad camera now. It's amazing how much the camera. Is it early? Oh no. Well, you can catch the rest of the stream if you want to, because it's on YouTube. It's very exciting, so you can watch it back from the start. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hi, Catherine. I miss you.
Clappy emojis.
Look,
Well
I
done.
made this one.
Fantastic. So please share your stuff, guys. Thank you for popping by, Catherine. That's so funny. We're just about to sign off for the evening. We've been on for almost 2.5 hours here, so we're gonna call it. Thank you, everyone. I really, really enjoy doing this. So let us know what you think. If once a week is a little much, or if you would be more excited to tune in once every 2 weeks, because I don't know. I want you guys to be excited about the next one, and I think we'd probably get we'd get a little more lively chat if it was more of an event and less of a regular thing. So let us know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, we're gonna keep on keeping on and see what happens. So it's very exciting. Have a good one, guys. From us.
We love you.
Yeah. See you. This is the awkward part where I don't know how to end my own stream now. There we go.